I gave the entitled girls exactly what they wanted, a $4,000 bill. World's biggest pushover. That's what one of them called me. I was standing at the host stand in my family's restaurant, the one my grandfather built with his bare hands in 1972, and this 20-something girl was calling me a pushover to her friends. Loud enough for me to hear. I was wearing black slacks and a white button-down, greeting customers like I do most nights when we're busy, and to her I looked like just another waiter she could walk all over. I should probably back up. My name's not important, but the restaurant is. My grandparents came to Canada from a small town outside Naples in the early 70s with almost nothing. My grandfather worked 3 jobs, construction during the day, dishwasher at night, taxi driver on weekends, until he saved enough to lease a tiny space downtown. 20 tables. A kitchen barely big enough for 2 people. My grandmother made pasta by hand every single morning at 4 a.m. They built something real, something that lasted. When they died, Nano in 2001, Nana in 2003, my parents took over. My dad grew up in that kitchen, learned to cook from his mother, absorbed every lesson about hard work and hospitality. My mom handled the books, the scheduling, the constant putting out of fires that comes with running a restaurant. They expanded over the years, slowly. Added a patio, upgraded the kitchen, built a reputation in the neighborhood as the place for family dinners and special occasions. I started working there when I was 15, bussing tables at first, then serving, then learning the kitchen, then managing shifts. By the time I was 25, I could run every single position in that restaurant. I knew the suppliers by name. I knew which tables had the wobbly leg, which regulars tipped well, which line cooks needed an extra smoke break when service got stressful. 3 years ago, my parents retired. They've been talking about it for years, about spending winters in Florida, about finally taking that trip to Italy they'd always postponed, about sleeping past 5 a.m. for once in their lives. They sold me the restaurant, kept a small percentage of equity for retirement income, and by Thanksgiving that year, they were snowbirds. And I was terrified, because the restaurant was fine, steady, reliable, but it wasn't growing. The neighborhood had changed around us. New condos, younger crowd, Instagram-obsessed food bloggers who wanted Edison bulbs and reclaimed wood and stories they could share. We had red checkered tablecloths and Frank Sinatra on the speakers and a menu that hadn't changed since 1987. I took out a loan, a big one, the kind that kept me awake at 3 in the morning doing math on scratch paper, wondering if I just destroyed 3 generations of family legacy because I was too arrogant to leave well enough alone. I renovated everything. Ripped out the old booths, refinished the floors, updated the lighting. Hired a designer for a new logo, something clean and modern that still honored the original. I kept my grandmother's pasta recipes but added new dishes, brought in a sommelier to overhaul our wine list, started sourcing from local farms, and advertising it. Then I reached out to every food critic, blogger, and local journalist I could find. Invited them in, comped their meals, asked them to be honest. Some of them were brutal. One blogger said our carbonara was trying too hard to be something it's not. That one stung for a week, but slowly it started working. A semi-popular YouTuber who did restaurant reviews around the city included us in a video. The comments were positive. People started showing up asking for the rigatoni from that video. Our reservation book started filling up on weekdays. Then a local news station did a segment on family businesses surviving gentrification, and we were the feel-good story at the end. Within 18 months, we went from doing maybe 40 covers on a Tuesday night to being fully booked 6 days a week. We became the place for engagement dinners, anniversary celebrations, birthday parties. A few local athletes started coming in, hockey players, mostly guys from the team who lived nearby. Word spread. Suddenly, we were the restaurant where you might see someone famous. I started keeping 2 or 3 tables open each night for walk-ins or VIPs. It's standard practice at high-end places. You never know when someone important might show up, and turning them away can cost you more than an empty table. I added a premium section, changed the menus for those tables so they didn't list prices, included higher-end options. White truffle pasta, imported oysters, the kind of dishes that justified the upcharge for the experience. By this past December, people were making reservations in July for Christmas week. We were completely booked through New Year's. I'd hired more staff, promoted my best server to floor manager, and started wearing a jacket on busy nights to handle VIP guests myself. I was proud, exhausted but proud. My parents called from Florida every Sunday, and I could hear the relief in my dad's voice that I hadn't run the place into the ground, that I'd actually made it better. And then 6 girls walked in on a Friday night in late December, and one of them decided to ruin my whole week. It was around 8:30. The dinner rush was in full swing. Every table full, bar packed 3 deep, kitchen firing orders in organized chaos. I was at the host stand going over the reservation list with my hostess when I heard them before I saw them. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this place. The food is incredible. There might even be celebrities here tonight. The voice was confident, loud enough to be heard over the ambient noise of a busy restaurant. I looked up and saw 6 women approaching. 5 of them looked young, early 20s, maybe college seniors or recent grads. They had that sorority vibe, matching designer bags and carefully coordinated outfits that looked casual but probably cost more than my monthly car payment. The 6th girl, the one talking, was maybe mid-20s. A little older, clearly the ringleader. She walked in front, gesturing with her hands as she spoke, and the others followed like ducklings. This place is exclusive, she was saying to her group. Like, you literally can't get in without knowing someone. They reached the host stand, and she smiled at me. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who thinks they're doing you a favor by acknowledging your existence. Hi, she said. Table for 6, please. I kept my voice professional. Of course. Can I get the name on the reservation? She stared at me for a beat, then let out a small laugh. Oh, I didn't make one. But it's fine. The owner is a personal friend of mine. He always keeps a table or 2 open for special guests, and we'll take one of those tonight. The girls behind her nodded like this was completely reasonable. Now, here's the thing. She wasn't entirely wrong about the practice. I do keep tables open for VIPs, but I'd never seen this woman before in my life. Never got a call, never got a text, never had any conversation about holding table for her. And I'd remember, I'm good with faces, and hers wasn't familiar. I had a choice to make in that moment. I could have called her out right there, told her I'm the owner and we'd never met, embarrassed her in front of her friends and sent them away. But something in her tone got under my skin. The casual certainty that rules didn't apply to her. The way she'd already turned to her friends to accept their impressed reactions before I'd even responded. So I decided to play dumb. I'm sorry, I said, keeping my expression neutral, but we can't seat anyone without a reservation. As you can see, we're completely full tonight. I gestured to the packed dining room behind me. Her smile disappeared. Excuse me, we're fully booked. I'm happy to take your information and call you if we have a cancellation, but right now, do you know who I am? She cut me off, her voice sharp. I looked at her, waited. I just told you, she continued, speaking slowly like I was stupid. The owner is a personal friend. He told me there would always be a table for me. One of the girls behind her pulled out her phone. Babe, should I take a picture of him? For when you talk to the owner? Yes, the ringleader said immediately. Absolutely. Take his picture. The phone came up. I didn't move, just let her take it. You know what? The main girl leaned forward slightly. You can either give us a table right now, or I can make your life very difficult. I'm going to talk to the owner this week, and when I do, you're either going to be scrubbing toilets or you're going to be fired. Your choice. The girls behind her joined in. Yeah, kiss your minimum wage job goodbye. One of them laughed. Maybe you should have been nicer. I kept my face blank, but inside I was doing math, calculating exactly how far I could take this before it crossed the line. Look, the ringleader said, her voice dropping into a tone that was probably meant to sound reasonable. This isn't worth losing your job over. Just give us a table. It's not that complicated. She pointed at me. Obviously, you aren't anyone important here, because if you were, you'd know exactly who I am. You'd be saying, yes, ma'am, and of course, ma'am, and showing us to our table. She kept going, kept trying to cut me down, making little comments about how I was clearly just a waiter, how I clearly didn't understand how things worked, how I obviously didn't know anything about running a real restaurant. It had been a long week. I've been at the restaurant since 9, that morning dealing with a supplier issue, then a staff conflict, then a broken freezer. My feet hurt. I had a headache brewing. And this woman was standing in my family's restaurant. The place my grandfather built with nothing, the place my parents spent 40 years growing, the place I'd risked everything to save, and she was telling me I was nobody. I made my decision. You smiled here. You're absolutely right. I apologize. Please follow me. Her expression shifted immediately to smug satisfaction. She turned to her friends. See? I told you. I led them through the dining room to one of the 3 VIP tables we keep open. Prime location, great view of the restaurant, the table where we'd seated a film director 2 weeks earlier. I'm so sorry for the confusion, I said as they sat down. You're absolutely right. It would be much simpler to just give you the table. And to apologize for the inconvenience. Your first 3 rounds of drinks are complimentary. Her smile was dazzling now. See? This is why you just need to listen. She settled in her chair like a queen. We'll need one of your credit cards and an ID, I continued, just to keep on file. Standard policy. We'll return them before you leave. She handed over her card without hesitation. Tonight's on me, girls, she announced to the table. I took their drink orders, brought them their first round of cocktails, and explained that because of how busy we were, there might be a slight delay on food. They barely heard me. They were already taking photos of their drinks, squealing about the ambience, talking about how amazing this was. I walked away and went directly to my office. Pulled up her credit card information on our system. Her name was Lauren. Last name didn't matter. What mattered was that she just handed me ammunition and I was going to use every bit of it. Here's what those girls didn't know. The table they were sitting at was our VIP table. The one we usually charged a few $1,000 minimum just to reserve. But I wasn't going to charge them the table fee. I was going to charge them for everything else. The menus at VIP tables are different. No prices listed, just descriptions of dishes. It's a luxury restaurant thing, the kind of place where if you have to ask about cost, you probably shouldn't be there. And our VIP menu included options you wouldn't find on the regular menu. Dishes with imported ingredients, premium preparations, the kind of items that run 2 or 3 times the price of our standard entrees. I went back to their table, took their orders. They were drunk on free cocktails and attention, ordering without looking at the menu, just pointing at things that sounded good. We'll do the oysters. Ooh, the truffle pasta. What's the Wagyu special? Can we get the caviar appetizer? I've never tried it. I wrote it all down, smiled, brought them their food in waves, and I kept bringing them drinks. After the 3 complimentary rounds, they ordered 2 more, then another, then shots. They were loud, getting progressively drunker, and at one point I overheard one of them say, "He's cute, but I could never date a waiter. He's such a pushover." Another one asked me directly while I was clearing plates, "Do you ever think about how meaningless your life is? Like this is all you became?" I just smiled and asked if they wanted dessert. One of my servers came to me during the main course. Table 6 is talking about how they're planning to mess with you. They think they can do whatever they want, and you'll just keep giving them free stuff. That sealed it. Any small doubt I'd had about how far to take this vanished. By the end of the night, each of them had racked up individual bills between $500 and $600. Together, with tax and automatic gratuity for parties of 6, the total came to $4,223. I printed the check, put it in the leather folder we use for VIP tables, and brought it to Lauren. She was mid-laugh when I set it down. She glanced at it, still smiling, and then her face changed. The color drained out of her cheeks. She went from tipsy and giggly to stone sober in about 3 seconds. "What the fuck?" she said, picking up the check. "What the fuck is this?" The other girls leaned in to look. "This has to be wrong," one of them said. "This is insane," another added. Lauren looked up at me, her eyes wide. "This is a mistake. This has to be someone else's bill." "Let me check," I said, taking the folder back. I walked to the server station, counted to 30, and returned. "I apologize," I said. "Here's the correct bill." I handed her the folder. It was the same bill. Obviously. She looked at it again, and her hands started shaking. "There's no fucking way. This can't be right. Is there something on the bill you didn't order?" I asked politely. She and the other girls started going through it line by line. I watched them use their phone calculators, adding and re-adding, checking every single item. Their first 3 rounds were listed as complimentary, right there at the top, which made everything after that look even worse. After about 5 minutes of this, Lauren stood up abruptly. "I need to use the restroom." Part of me wondered if she was going to bolt, run out the back, and leave her friend with the bill. But I'd kept her ID and credit card, and I'd made sure she'd seen me put them in the cash drawer behind the host stand. She was gone for almost 10 minutes. When she came back, her makeup was fixed, but her eyes were red. She'd clearly been crying. She sat down and immediately went on the attack. The food was terrible. The drinks were watered down. The service was slow. "This is completely unacceptable. I want at least half of this taken off the bill." Her friends nodded, backing her up with murmured agreements. "My friends are going to help pay," she added quickly, contradicting what she'd said earlier about covering everything herself. Then she stopped. I could literally see the moment an idea hit her. "Wait," she said, her voice getting stronger. "I know the owner. I'm going to call him right now, and he's going to fix this." She pulled out her phone, made a show of scrolling through her contacts, and held it up to show me. The contact name read, "Restaurant name, owner." I looked at the screen, looked at her. "That's not the owner's phone number," I said. "He has multiple phones for business," she shot back immediately. "Of course you wouldn't know all his numbers. You're just a waiter. How about this? I said, keeping my voice level. If we call him right now, and he confirms that he told you to take 50% off your bill, I'll do it. Her face flushed. I'm not bothering him at this hour for something that's clearly. Then pay your bill. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Her voice was rising now, loud enough that the few remaining tables in the restaurant were starting to look over. I know the owner. I've been here dozens of times. This is ridiculous. Ma'am, I said, and my voice wasn't friendly anymore. Cut the crap. You don't know the owner. You've never been here before. And if you keep making a scene, I'm calling the police. She tried to recover, started to say something about how I was being rude, how she was going to get me fired, how this was all a misunderstanding. I was done. My grandfather opened this restaurant in 1972, I said, loud enough for her whole table to hear. My family has run it for 3 generations. I've worked here since I was 15 years old. I'm the sole owner of this restaurant, and I have never seen you, heard of you, or made any promises to you before tonight. The table went silent. Lauren's mouth opened, but nothing came out. I gave you the VIP table you demanded, I continued. One of the tables we reserve for high-end clientele, which normally has a reservation minimum of several $1,000s. I didn't charge you for that. I also gave you 3 rounds of complimentary drinks. You've ordered expensive food and premium cocktails all night. Everything on your bill is exactly what you ordered and consumed. The younger girls were frozen, looking between Lauren and me like they were watching a tennis match. If you don't pay your bill, I said, I'm calling the police and giving them your ID that I currently have behind the bar. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. Her hand shook as she signed a credit card slip. The other girls pulled out their wallets, handing her whatever cash they had, probably a couple $100s total, and promising to Venmo her more later. She didn't say another word. None of them did. They gathered their bags and left, Lauren's mascara running down her face. I stood at the host stand and watched them go. Back in my office, I printed a second copy of the bill and had it framed. It sits on my desk now, right next to a photo of my grandparents standing in front of the original restaurant. 2 days later, a man showed up. Angry, demanded to talk to whoever was in charge. My bartender came to get me from the office where I was doing payroll. I made him wait about 30 minutes. When I finally came out, Lauren was with him. She kept her head down, wouldn't look at me. I took them both to my office and pulled up our security footage. We have really good cameras in the VIP section, high-quality audio and video, because we'd had some issues in the past with guests claiming things about their service or disputes about checks. I showed him everything. Her walking and claiming to know me. The comments about how I was just a waiter. The conversation where they laughed about messing with me. Her going to the bathroom and clearly faking text messages. All of it. The guy, I'm assuming her father, didn't say a word until the video was done. Then he stood up, grabbed her by the arm, and dragged her toward the door. You're a fucking embarrassment, I heard him say as they left. I haven't seen or heard from any of them since. The thing is, I didn't actually lose money on the deal. The table was going to be empty anyway. I hadn't expected any walk-in VIPs that night. The 3 free rounds of drinks cost me maybe $60 in actual product. Everything else, they ordered more than covered that loss. And honestly, it was worth it. Not because I bankrupted some entitled 20-something or made her cry. That's not what this was about. It was about the principle, about standing in my family's restaurant, the place my grandfather built with his hands, the place my parents sacrificed everything for, the place I'd risked my entire financial future to save, and having someone tell me I was nobody, that my work was meaningless, that I was just some pushover waiter they could manipulate. I think about what my grandfather would have done in that situation. He probably would have just thrown them out, honestly. He had a temper, didn't tolerate disrespect. My dad would have been more diplomatic, found some middle ground. Me? I let them dig their own grave and then handed them the shovel. I don't feel guilty about it. I feel free. These days, business is better than ever. We're booked out 2 months in advance. I've started consulting with other family restaurants about how to modernize without losing their identity. I bought a condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Some mornings I have my coffee there and think about that night. The look on Lauren's face when she realized I wasn't joking. My parents call every Sunday from Florida. Last time we talked, my dad mentioned that my mom's been telling the story to everyone at their retirement community. My son, the successful restaurant owner, she says. She's proud. I'm proud too. The frame bill is still on my desk. Sometimes people ask about it during office meetings. I tell them it's a reminder that respect isn't something you demand, it's something you earn, and that some lessons cost more than others.
Catch you again soon.